Hi, this is Victoria Nalule, and here with me again is Professor Peter Cameron and Brandon Malone. This is our second series of videos, and this one is dedicated to practitioners and experts. In here, we're going to have 3 videos. The first one will talk about, we'll discuss what to consider when choosing an arbitral tribunal. And then the second one will talk about the current developments in energy disputes. And the last one will talk about limitations and challenges in international arbitration. But before we start, I'd like Professor Cameron and Brandon to briefly introduce themselves. Professor Cameron.
Hello. Peter Cameron, Professor of International Energy Law and Director of the Energy Centre at the University of Dundee, and also co-director of the International Centre for Energy Arbitration.
Brandon.
And Brandon Malone, lawyer and arbitrator in Edinburgh and London, chairman of the Scottish Arbitration Centre, and with Peter, a co-director of the International Centre for Energy Arbitration.
Thank you very much for the introductions. So the first video I want to focus on the arbitral tribunal. What should lawyers or practitioners consider when they're choosing an arbitral tribunal?
Well, there are quite a number of considerations here at Victoria, so let me just mention a very few of them. One could come up with quite a long list here. When you're looking at it, depends a little bit on who you are. For a start, if you're the counsel, you're looking at the tribunal, and you're going to be saying, well, which member of the tribunal, who can we appoint who's going to be sympathetic to our case, and as well as independent, but at least there's going to be some sympathy. And also you're going to be asking who is going to be the chair. And you're going to be very, very interested in making sure that you have the chair or the president of the tribunal is someone who is someone you have a lot of confidence in. That's almost certainly going to be a very neutral party, but that will have a decisive role on the way that the award is written. So it's an important position to think about. You might also say, well, what institution are we going to be looking for? What rules do they have if we need to go back to them and get them to assist us with the parties might not be able to agree, for example, on who should be the president. So what are the rules in the institution for dealing with that? Are we going to find that a chair or a president is going to be imposed on us? So that it's an important matter. You might also say, well, do we want a person who is neutral? Of course. Do we want an independent person? Of course. Do we want a person with integrity? Of course. An established reputation? Yes. But do you want somebody with expertise, somebody who knows something about the subject matter of the dispute? And some people might say, well, actually, no. What we want is somebody who is really a very, very strong expert in the legal rules that are applicable to this, rather than someone who has a substantive knowledge. You could go either way. So there are quite a number of considerations you have to weigh up and carefully balance.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Cameron. Brandon, any additions?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with what Peter's saying, and you can get different approaches. You can have someone who has a lot of industry experience and expertise. You might get someone who is, for example, a retired judge. They're quite common as arbitrators, and they have a very broad expertise and a lot of expertise in making legal decisions, but might not have the depth of industry expertise. And sometimes it's a question of, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a black letter lawyer who's going to apply the law regardless, or do you want someone who's going to bring a bit more of a sort of pragmatic commercial approach? And that will depend whether your case is strong on black letter law or not, perhaps, what kind of person you want. Just a couple of other points. There's some interesting work being done to assist parties in selecting arbitrators. So Professor Catherine Rogers is working on a project, Arbitrator Intelligence, where she is trying to assist parties in knowing how an arbitrator will behave in a particular situation. And similarly, Global Arbitration Review have set up a research tool where a lot of information about arbitrators can be, and information about things like responsiveness, attitude to certain procedural questions like discovery, for example, work rate, ability to work with others. But a slightly different angle on all of this is the pool of arbitrators that's there, because historically it's been a fairly small group of people. Now arbitration has grown radically, and to become a new entrant to that field is pretty difficult regardless of who you are. But especially women and people from ethnic minorities, and there are a number of organisations that have been set up, like like Arbitral Women with our Equal Rights in Arbitration Pledge, which has been very popular, and the Alliance for Equality in Arbitration, which is a separate organisation which looks right across diversity in all its glory. And there are important reasons for this to do with legitimacy, because if you expect the arbitral regime to have legitimacy in, for example, African states, it's very important that African arbitrators are playing a part in the international arbitration scene. Otherwise, governments, organisations, companies within those states are going to say, well, hold on a minute, we're not playing any part in it, and the system loses legitimacy. But it is difficult because it is a chicken and egg scenario. How do you get experience? If you need experience for the job, how do you get experience to get that first foot on the ladder? So there is an issue there, but progress is being made, I think.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Brandon. Thank you very much, Professor Cameron. That marks the end of our first video. The next one will be concentrating on the current developments in energy disputes. Stay tuned.